Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. So today we will be talking about the Ford Fiesta MK7. So for those who don't know, this is a Ford Fiesta 2010 model. So this car is currently almost 12 years old. So basically this is my car before I got the Proton Persona MC2. So I was driving this car for almost 12 years now. Alright, so the reason why I make this video is basically to, give out some information on this car, my opinion, my thoughts, and my driving experience, right? Because I know that there are people out there who are interested to get this car as a second-hand car, right? So that's why I'm making this video, because this car is actually a really good looking car, but of course there are pros and cons with this car. So like any cars, if you are going to buy it as a second-hand car, make sure you do some research, right? Because you're basically buying a used car. Okay. All right, if you look at the design language of this car, for a car that is almost 12 years old, the design is actually quite timeless, right? You can see that it still looks pretty good, especially for a car that is 12 years old, guys. So if you compare the design language with cars like the Proto Myvi or the Proton Persona, right? This car still looks better in my opinion, because if you look at the design, it's really sporty looking. And look at the rims, guys. The rims are pretty nice, and those are original rims that come with this car. I never really changed the rims because I really like the design of the rims. Okay, and if you look at the color, it's also really nice. So if you don't know, this is one of the premium color. It's called the Aurora Blue, so it's a metallic paint. All right, and after 12 years it still looks pretty good. Okay, so you can see that there are really nice lines to this car, and because this is a hatchback, you can see that there are some curves. So it's a sexy, sporty looking car, guys. Okay, so I understand why there are some people who still like this car, because the design, as you can see, oh, it's really nice. Now that I look back at this car, wow, it's actually not bad looking, right? It's way better than my Proton Persona right now. Okay, so at the back you can see that it has some curves behind, and a diffuser down there, and you have the logo Fiesta S. Okay, the design of the rear lamps are quite nice, to be honest, although it's not the best looking. But at that time in 2010, this was the back design here was pretty dope. Okay, so as you can see, the Ford Fiesta has a really good quality door in my opinion. The plastic is quite good quality, although it's old, right? But in my opinion, it's still really good. And the design of the door, in my opinion, is quite nice. We have a speaker grill here, and also a tweeter near to the door handle, right? And this one is where you control the side mirrors and stuff, and flip the mirrors in and out. Okay, so nothing too fancy, but in terms of the build quality, it's quite good. Okay, and here you have like a cloth finish. Okay, so but this thing you have to be careful because it's fabric, right? So it can get dirty easily. And here's the power window. Okay, here is where you put some stuff, but you can't really put a water bottle, I think. But you can put your mask and whatever, or your parking coupons or whatnot. Okay, and here we have the steering wheel. As you can see, the Ford Fiesta has a really sporty looking steering wheel. I really like the feel of the steering wheel because it has a bit of like a leather finish right here, right? And the feel is really good. I really like the feel of the steering wheel. Okay, it just fits my my taste. Okay, and there's a Ford logo here, and this is the horn, and I think this is for the audio controls, right? Okay, nothing too fancy, and the design is just simple, and you have an airbag here. For those who don't know, this is an old car, so there are only two airbags here. Okay, one there, one here. Okay, and here is the instrument cluster. So you can see the RPM meter, speedometer, fuel gauge, and there's a small digital screen here. So it usually shows you like a trip A, trip B, you know, distance to empty and stuff like that. Okay, nothing too fancy. And here is where you switch on, switch off the lights. And here are the fog lamps. Okay, this one maybe you can keep your coins or something, some coupons. Here is where you put in the key. All right, so this car does not have a push start button. Obviously it's an old car, so it still uses key ignition. Okay, and this is where you turn on the car wiper. This one is actually where you know, activate the voice command. Surprisingly, this car, if you don't know, in 2010, this is one of the very few cars that has voice command features, and this is a B segment car, right? So it's pretty impressive in 2010 that it has some kind of like a simple basic voice command features, but it's very limited. It's only useful for like I mean, the voice command can only be used to change the radio, play songs from your USB drive, and also maybe to make simple phone calls and stuff like that. Nothing too fancy. Alright, but nowadays you have the voice command in the Proton Persona MC2, which is so much more you know, advanced compared to this one. Okay, but back in the day in 2010, this was pretty cool, to be honest. Okay, and here is the center console. To be honest, this one is some people like it, some people don't like it, but personally, back in 2010, this was pretty, you know, cool looking, right? It was pretty awesome back then, because you have all these buttons right here, and you know, keypads, so that you can, you know, make some phone calls and stuff like that. It was pretty cool in 2010, right? But nowadays, I think this one is a bit too much, to be honest, right? But in 2010 it was pretty cool. Okay, what I like about this center console is actually this piece. Okay, it was quite cool back then. So this is where you know, display some of the useful info, like also like your radio and stuff, right? So you can see okay. All right, another thing that I like about this Ford Fiesta is basically the sound system. In my opinion, the speakers sound quite good. Okay, it has some bass in it. Surprisingly, it sounded really good. So the first time I got this car, I was like, wow, the sound is, you know, amazing. It's quite good. Okay, then you have the, you know, the lock, the car lock. Okay, and then this one is for you to change some settings in the screen. Okay, and here is where you control the aircon, this fan speed, temperature. Okay, pretty simple. And here is the gear knob. Okay, so this is a dual clutch automatic car, and as you can see, the gear lever is quite nice. I like the design of this gear lever. But this thing is what I don't like, right? I don't know why it's, you know, this side. Supposedly the indicators should be this side, right? Because we are right-hand drive. But I guess this is an American car, so probably they just put it this side, which doesn't make sense, to be honest. Because sometimes when you want to put, you know, you want to change the gears, you can't really see what's being displayed. So, but it is what it is. And then we have some power outlet here. Okay, so if you want to vacuum your car, you can. And here is just one USB slot where you can slot in your pen drive. Okay, so basically this is old technology, guys. In the old days, there is only 1 or 2 USB slot, but nowadays, even in the Proton Persona, you get 6 USB slot, which is pretty impressive. Okay, and then here you can put like two bottles, and I usually put car perfume here. And here we have an armrest, but basically this is an aftermarket armrest. Originally this car doesn't come with an armrest, so that is a, you know, turn off. But I'm glad today with most cars in the B segment we have armrests. Okay, but back in the day this car, it doesn't really have an armrest, so I have to get an aftermarket armrest for it. And as you can see, the quality is not good. It's you can see the leather is already peeling off, and it's also very shaky. So this is not good quality product, but that's okay. It's better than nothing, right? Then we move to the seats. So this is how the seats look like, guys. So it kind of look like a bucket seat. Okay, it's sporty looking, to be honest, and the material is fabric. So this thing gets dirty easily, especially if you spill water or you drop some food on it. It's gonna leave some stain. Okay, but it is a pretty comfortable seat if you ask me. But the only thing is, if you have a bigger size body, this thing would probably not be as comfortable, because you can see that the seats have some kind of like a wings, something like that, right? This thing. So if you have a bigger size body, probably, you know, this thing is gonna be quite uncomfortable for you. But if you have a smaller built body, I think you will fit in this seat pretty well, and it's really comfortable, guys. Okay, and what else? I think that's about it. The aircon vents is, I like the design of the vents. Okay, and we have a Monster Energy sticker here, guys. For those who don't know, the Ford Fiesta used to be really popular, especially with Ken Block, right, with his Monster Energy Ford Fiesta and the Gymkhana video. So the Ford Fiesta was really popular because of Ken Block, right? So that's why we have the Monster Energy sticker right here. And it's 12 years old, guys, and it still looks kind of good. You can see it still has the green color, although it's 12 years old. The sticker didn't get faded or anything. I think now that I look back, it's kind of pretty lame, you know, to stick this Monster Energy sticker right here. But you know, I was young, so when we were young, obviously our taste is a bit different. But now seeing this, it kind of looks, you know, it looks pretty lame, to be honest, right? Right, now we go to the back seat of the car. So this is how it looks like, back seat. Okay, nothing too special, to be honest. It's not as spacious as the Honda City, in my opinion, right? But for a B segment hatchback, I think it's decent. But if you are someone who is 180 cm and above, this thing would probably be too cramped for you, right? But if you are below 170 cm, I guess it's okay, this seat. Okay, but personally for me, I think it's a bit too cramped behind here. There is not much leg room, so I think if you are gonna bring kids in this car, it should be okay. But if you are bringing tall adults in this car, I think this is not going to be that comfortable, right? But overall, I think it's okay. It is not the most comfortable back seat, I would have to say. Okay, but it's okay for kids. And then we have some, you know, headrest here, so you can actually push this up if you want to. and the seats are pretty firm, to be honest. When I sit behind, I don't really feel comfortable because the back seat here is really firm, okay, and also the angle is pretty straight. So if you are gonna sit here for a long time, especially when you're going on a long journey, the back seat is not gonna be that comfortable for you, okay guys, just so you know. Okay, but that's about it. That is how it looks behind. Okay, so this is how the back door looks like. Pretty simple. Power window, door handle, and there's a speaker grill down there. So yeah, it's pretty simple, guys. So now we go to the boot. Not that much space. It is expected for a B segment hatchback car, but you can probably fit in like 3 medium size luggage in here, no problem. Okay, so this car in 2010, I think it was competing with another car that is quite similar, right? I think it was the Mazda 2 at the time. So the designs are quite similar if you look back to the Mazda 2 in 2010, but I decided to go with the Ford Fiesta because overall the Ford Fiesta look sportier and the design is much more I don't know, it's more modern looking at that time, to be honest. So that's why I decided to pick the Ford Fiesta over the Mazda 2. Okay, and also the Ford Fiesta at that time has more features, right? It's more feature packed compared to the Mazda 2. Okay, and if you look at the front of the car, wow man, it's pretty nice. You have the fog lamps down there and the headlamps are pretty sexy looking, like a it looked like a pair of eyes. The headlamps are pretty long, to be honest. Okay, but I like the design overall. And you have the Ford logo in front, and down there is like a chrome piece. I don't know, this thing to be honest, I think I kind of like it, but some people don't really like it. But to me, these 2 chrome pieces make the car look sportier. Okay, so that's why this car is so sporty looking, in my opinion, is because of the front grille there and also the chrome piece. So this car is a really sporty looking car, guys. And not only that, it's also really nice to drive. This car, it's stable in high speeds. So when you're going more than 100 kilometers per hour, right, this car feels steady on the road. And when you take corners at a really high speed, it's also really stable. So the Ford Fiesta is really famous for its handling and also for its driving experience. So so usually the reason why people get this car is because of the looks and also the driving experience. So basically these 2 things sell the car. But of course, this car is not a perfect car. It has its pros and cons. So the pros are driving experience and also the looks. Okay, but now we go into the cons. Okay, this car is actually a problematic car. It's not the most reliable car, if you want to know. So for those who want to get this car as a second-hand car, probably you should think twice, because this car is actually not reliable, especially this model right here. I think the newer models are better, right? But this 2010 model is basically quite problematic. So this car is famous for 2 problems, mainly the transmission, the TCM, right, and also the ABS model. Okay, so before you get this car, make sure you do some research, because this car really has reliability problems. Okay guys, so if you go to the Ford Ford Fiesta forums, you will know what kind of problems people face. And some people, they have problems with the TCM or the ABS model, right? At one point, the car will actually stop moving. Maybe you can't start the car at all, right? So there are a lot of issues with this car. So make sure if you are going to get this car, make sure you are ready to splash out some money, because the repair cost is not cheap, and the spare parts also is not cheap as well, right? So basically, the spare parts, they will usually get the original ones, so it's going to cost a lot of money, and the maintenance is also not that cheap as well. So I think it's better to get Japanese cars. In my opinion, it's more reliable, and the maintenance is a bit cheaper compared to continental cars like this car, Ford here, right? So when things don't go well, so when there is problem with this car, you will have to fork out a lot of money to fix it. Okay, although you can get this car for pretty cheap, I think in the second-hand market you can get this car for below 15,000 ringgit. And if this model right here, the 2010 model, you can probably get it below 12,000 ringgit. Okay, so you can get it pretty cheap, but make sure when you get it, make sure you have to check it, double check everything, make sure the previous owner take good care of the car, make sure it's serviced properly, service on time, make sure there are no problems with the engine and stuff, right? Then probably you can get this car. But if the car is not in good condition, I don't recommend you to get it, because the car may be cheap, right? You can get it for maybe 12,000 ringgit, but if the car has some problems and you have to repair it, I think probably the cost of you repairing it, maintaining it would probably be more, would probably cost more than the car itself. Okay, so that is something that you need to keep in mind before you get this car, because there are actually a lot of problems with this car, to be honest, because it's not the most reliable car. But I guess there is no perfect car, right? This car is really nice to drive, it's fun to drive, okay, but it has a lot of issues. But if you ask me, should you get this car as a second-hand car, I would say no, please don't get this car as a second-hand car, especially if you are someone who wants to save some money and you want something that is more budget friendly. Don't pick this car, guys. Don't pick this car, because there are other cars out there that are more reliable, like maybe Toyota Vios, or maybe the Honda City, or the Myvi. I guess the Myvi is pretty pretty budget friendly and also easy to maintain compared to this car. Okay, but if you really want this car as a second-hand car, then I guess you should definitely look for the newer version, which is the EcoBoost. I think that one is a bit more reliable compared to this model. Or you can get the manual variant, because in 2010 there are 3 variants released, if not mistaken. This 1.6 hatchback sport one, and there was also the sedan 1.6, if I'm not mistaken, and there is also a manual one, manual transmission. So I guess if you want to get the Ford Fiesta, then I recommend you to get the manual version, because obviously manual transmission is less problematic, right? Because the manual transmission is not as complicated as the dual clutch transmission. Okay, so I guess the manual one is more reliable, and also it's easier to maintain, in my opinion. So if you really want the Ford Fiesta, I really suggest you to get the manual transmission one, or probably get the Ford Fiesta EcoBoost, which is the newer variant of this one. Okay, but other than that, I wouldn't recommend you to get this car. Okay, unless you are a car collector or a car enthusiast, you have a lot of money to spend and you just want to get this car, just to tune it or to modify it or something like that, right? For fun, for your hobby or something, then I guess it's okay to get this car. But if you are someone who wants to save some money by buying a second-hand car, then I guess this is not a good option for you. Okay, you have better options out there like the Japanese cars or some other cars, Malaysian cars, probably Myvi. The Myvi, I think it's pretty good, right? It's reliable, and also it's easy to maintain, and if something is wrong you can easily get the spare parts, right? But with this car, the spare parts are really expensive, so when something goes wrong you have to go to the Ford Center and you have to order the original parts. It's gonna cost a lot of money, guys, right? And also in my place here there is no other like workshop that can really, you know, repair Ford Fiestas except for the official service centers. So it's gonna be so difficult to repair this car if you are living in a place that, you know, don't have a lot of workshops. But I guess if you are in West Malaysia, especially in Kuala Lumpur, I think there are some workshops who know how to, you know, repair this car if there is any problem, right? But in my place in East Malaysia, basically it's really hard to repair this car. Alright guys, so that's about it. I hope this video is useful for those who want to get this car as a second-hand car, right? I hope the information is sufficient enough for you to make a decision. Okay, if you like this video, give it a thumbs up, and if you like the contents that I have been making recently, do consider subscribing, guys. And I hope to make more videos in the future, probably videos of, you know, other cars if I can get my hands on other cars. All right, but for now, thank you for watching and hope to see you again in the future. Take care, guys. Bye bye.